Robin Thicke, Pharrell, and T.I. blurred lines, so the lines are very clear when it comes to this. Immigration laws are becoming increasingly more cruel. I guess the Supreme Court refused to stop a practice in Texas where a police officer could just walk up to somebody he suspected as an illegal immigrant and make them prove they belong here. Now that has since been paused by the Fifth Circuit, if I'm understanding correctly. The thing that I've noticed is whenever somebody plans to do some heinous, horrible things to people who are amongst their citizenry, who live amongst them, they try to separate them, generally by having them carry some kind of paperwork, some kind of ID. Slaves had to carry papers. Now, slaves had to carry papers to make sure that they were where they were supposed to be, that they weren't on the run, that they were in the space they were supposed to be, or they had to carry papers that said that they were free, right? In Europe, Jews had to wear a star, which is an identification. You had to show who you were, because they couldn't look at them and tell that they were Jewish. But they had to be able to differentiate you from somebody else. In the World War II, Japanese were interned. Before they were interned, they had to carry ID to differentiate them, to show you who they were. In Rwanda, the Tutsis and the Hutus had to carry ID so we could see who they are. Even now, what's going on in Palestine, in the Middle East, a lot of them who come to Israel to work, Palestinians, there are 200,000 or 300,000 of them who work construction. They are the laborers of that particular area. They have to carry ID. You have to be able to look at them, look at their papers, and see who they are. Every time in history, almost invariably, when we have found a way, or countries have found a way, or people have found a way to differentiate you, to carve you out, to make you carry something that shows that you're different than the population, they have done it to be horrible and violent. You can only look at the history of the United States of America and see what happened to people who didn't have papers. Look at what happened in Europe. When they made people that wear stars, they rounded them up, they murdered them, because they want to know who you are, so when they're ready to do whatever they're ready to do, they can come get you. In Rwanda, exact same thing. What's going on now in the Middle East, exact same thing. Let me know who you are, where you are, because when I make you carry things, when I make you carry something that shows me who you are and where you belong, I plan on doing something monstrous to you. And that is the American way. That's so quintessentially American. At one point, it was nothing more American than asking someone to see their papers. And now there's nothing more American than asking someone to see their papers. And it's the same people, and it's the same mindset, and for the same reason. And you could tell me all day long, that's not why it's going to happen, but invariably it leads to the same thing. They are different. They belong here. We can do whatever we want to them. And because the population of that place goes, well, they didn't belong here anyway. Arizona tried to pass a law where you could shoot immigrants. The state legislature did pass that law. Now, I'm sure it won't pass, but eventually maybe. Texas, the governor of Texas said we would shoot them, but then we get charged for murder. This is a very real thing. And the thing that I find particularly incendiary is that there's so many black and brown people who often have family members or ancestors that were involved or had to once carry papers to do anything are now in support of it. But I can tell you this. You show me somebody who's asking people to see their papers, and pretty soon those papers will be death certificates. There's a little note from the GED section. Got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.